Welcome back to Think, the podcast with me, Dylan Schreibman. Another Tuesday, another episode. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to Think, the podcast with me, Dylan Schreibman. Another Tuesday, another episode. Thank you for joining me for another episode. I know it's Welcome back to Think, the podcast with me, Dylan Schreibman. Thank you for joining me for another Welcome back to Think, the podcast with me, Dylan Schreibman. Welcome back to Think, the podcast with me, Dylan Schreibman. Oh my God. Welcome back to Think, the podcast with me, Dylan Schreibman. Another Tuesday, another episode. I am so happy that you're here and joining me in this space and joining me in this conversation. I do thank you and I really appreciate it. This is already episode 12, and today we are talking my tips for a hot girl summer. Let's do this. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. I am not gonna lie, I'm feeling a bit low energy today, and I don't know if it's the weather. Maybe it's been gloomy and gross where I live the past few days. I don't know if it's the fact that I was in LA last week and I missed it and the sunshine was shining and then I came back to gloomy weather. I don't know what it is, but what has me excited is this matcha. I am a big matcha person and I'm just happy for it today. I'm very upset there's a matcha shortage. Can I just say real fast? Matcha can't go away, okay? We cannot run out and we cannot tariff it either like he wants to. I love my matcha, and the fact maybe that's adding to the sadness, the fact that there is a matcha shortage out there. Another reason I am excited is the topic today. I am so ready to get into this, so ready. And I know I said it's my tips for a hot girl summer, but we can generalize that and just say how to be a hot girl because I think you should be a hot girl 365 days a year. And I've done a lot of reflecting and a lot of revisiting and a lot of refocusing over the past, I would say, 8 or 9 months to with my life. And this kind of can, I think, with all the lessons that I've learned and everything that I've been through, I just want to teach people how to step into their power and how I think the best way is to just step into your highest power and believe in yourself and be confident and not worry and live the life that you deserve. And yes, I use that word intentionally. Live the life that you deserve. I know it's a trend to be a hot girl, and I know it's all over the internet of how to be a hot girl or become a hot girl, and I understand that. And I really just think it's about confidence, and I think it's about loving who you are and going through enough stuff. I don't think people just, and this is just my opinion, I don't think people wake up one day and are like, I'm extremely confident. I think the most confident people go through a lot of stuff or even go through the most stuff. And I think they just learn to be resilient and that no matter what, they're going to be okay. I think you just have to go through some stuff and realize that you are going to make it out and realize that nothing has come across your plate that you couldn't handle. So let's get into the tips. I think I'll talk more as we get into that. I think tip number one, and I think this might be the most important, is to trust in your faith and trust in the universe. I do want to start by saying I'm a big believer in God and a big believer in my faith, but I will never be a person to push that on somebody else. I'll never push my religion on somebody else. I'll never expect somebody to believe the same thing that I believe. I think everybody's on their own journey with that. So I am aware of that. And for me, God is important and my faith is important, and it's got me through a lot and continues to get me through every day. I think maybe if you don't necessarily believe, I think you can still trust in the universe. So, whatever your trusting process is, whether that's your faith, whether that's the universe, you have to trust. And that's just the most important thing of no matter what it is, you just have to trust it. And I think the first thing to do that is you have to surrender and you have when I say it, you have to fully surrender and believe that everything is going to work out for you. And this is hard, especially if you are a control freak. I know somebody's listening that's like, girl, I'm a control freak. And I get it because you were talking to what I like to classify as a retired control freak, a recovering control freak, whichever word is better. I used to want to control everything so bad. And like I said, I've always had faith and I've always prayed and I've always believed in God and that He's taking me in down my path in the best direction. But I also always wanted to be in the driver's seat making the calls, if that makes sense. I wanted things to work at a certain pace. I guess that's the best way to describe it. I think I wanted things to work at a certain pace on my timeline, and it's hard. It's hard when you're used to worrying, and life gives you a lot of stress. Life is stress. I mean, whether it's your career, whether it's money, whether it's relationships that you want to be in, friendships, whether it's you're going back to school. There's a lot of variables that can give you stress from the on the day to day. And so I understand why it is hard to be like, you know what? I'm just going to surrender and not worry about a thing because life will hit you. It's one of those things, as I said a few moments ago, you just have to go through enough and you just have to go through some crap. I don't know if I can say the other word on the internet, but you just have to go through some stuff to realize that I've gone through enough where I've always made it out okay. I've always made it to the other side, no matter what I've been through. And so I think you have to realize that everything is working for you and not against you. And I know that's another cliche, or people could consider it that, but it really is true. You have to believe that everything is working for you and not against you. That's how you step into your highest power. I want you to remember, let's look back for a second. I'm a big reflector, so let's reflect today. I want you to take a moment to look back or think of one of your biggest challenges or toughest chapters that you've ever been through. I want you to think about necessarily the biggest challenge and the negative side of it. I want you to think about the day that you realized that you were going to be okay. The day that you realized, oh my God, I made it to the other side. I am out of that chapter. Whether you had a moment to yourself in the mirror to be like, I'm okay. Like that scene at the end of Look Both Ways. Whether you just look back a few weeks into your next chapter where your blessings are really pouring in and your miracles are coming in, and you're like, wow, things are really good. I was just in a bad chapter. If you're in a tough chapter right now, that is the hope I want you to hold on to. That is the hope I've personally been holding to of I've been in a tough chapter before. I've been in a place in my life before where I didn't realize or I didn't know how things were going to work out when I first moved to LA. I just took a risk and did it, and it did work out. I actually am trying to think back on the day that I realized it did. I don't think I think I've always been an ambitious, overly ambitious person at times, and sometimes I don't slow down to celebrate the small wins or the successes or the realizations of you're taking a step forward or you're into that next chapter. And so I don't remember the exact day, but because I don't think I slowed down at the time, I think I was just like on 100. But I think I do remember the exact or the general moment of, oh my God, I'm here and I'm okay. Like I remember the look back moment I was talking about earlier of I didn't know if I was going to make it a few months ago, and now I know I can make it here. I do remember that moment, and that's what I hold on to. I think with surrendering, something that's really important with putting that trust is knowing that things will come in, A, when they're supposed to, and B, when you're ready. You never want to get something too early because obviously you will mess it up and you're not prepared for it. And I think you have to trust whatever your belief system is to know that it will come when you are ready. It won't come too early, so sometimes you might have to wait a little bit longer for it than you wanted. But when you get it, you're going to be glad that you did wait and you did do that work in preparation. I think this is something I've always struggled with and I talked about of when you're a control freak and when you want to control the things on your timeline, this is one of the hardest things to accept. And I, this is one of the hardest things I've had to accept of, I'm like, well, I want this and I want this. Why isn't this coming in? Like I'm working my hardest or putting myself out there and I'm trying my best and it's just not shaping up to what I thought it was going to be. Now looking back, I do realize that every step I took was important, and every chapter I went through is preparing me for the next. And also, I've been in a waiting season before, and the thing that I prayed for and that I wanted did come in. And I did get to be in that other winning. I did get to be in that winning season. You don't know when that next thing is going to come in, whatever you're looking for, whether it's a job, whether it's you want to get married, whether it's whatever it is, whether you want to move cities, you just don't know when it's going to come in. You just have to trust that it's going to, and you have to trust that it is already yours. I think that's also important of this is already mine. So why am I worried about something that I know future me already has? And then just look forward to, oh my God, can you believe like I get to have that? Like that's gonna come in my future. I think sometimes also you just have to trust God to lead you down the right path. I think sometimes you just have to walk in faith and not in sight and just step in each day because that's when unexpected things come in that you're like, oh, I really wasn't expecting this, or I really wasn't, this is not where I expected my life to be, but actually this really helped me and this really served me. That's the thing I think I really enjoy most about life is something that's unexpected and maybe as a retired control freak, I was always like, I need to do this in 5 years, or I need to hit these career goals, and I want to hit these relationship goals, and I want to be married by this age. And then you look, and then, so I think there's always a plan, and sometimes you just have to let go of that plan. And you do have to plan in life, but you have to sometimes let go of being, and just, you have to let go of being, I don't know the word. You have to let go and just let God. I think the last thing I want to point out with trusting faith or trusting the universe is it will repeat patterns until you learn them, but I think learning lessons is really important. I think that's one of the biggest blessings in life, actually, of I think it's important to sit down, and I wish I did this a year ago, but I think it's important even today just to sit down for 15 minutes by yourself and check in with yourself. What lessons have I learned? If I'm in a waiting season, what lessons am I learning in this season? I think it's important to reflect on whatever area that maybe you're struggling in your life or it just hasn't gone as you expected it to. I think it's important to sit down and reflect on why. Do the deep work of, hey, maybe it's, say I want to, for example, say you want to be in a relationship and that person that you really desire and you want to be with hasn't come yet. Ask yourself why. Is it maybe I'm just need to work on myself right now and I need to be whole before that person, or maybe my dating patterns are unhealthy. That was for the case for me. Or maybe I don't know why, and I'm just gonna trust God and the universe and that person will come. For me, with faith, maybe you look back and you realize, oh, I've put this want for a relationship over my faith, and it's teaching me to put my faith first and trust in my faith first. I think there's always a lesson. I think you just have to reflect on it and sit down and check in with yourself. Silence is the most powerful thing, in my opinion, to just be able to sit down and reflect and be like, this is what I've been doing that I want to change. Do it before it's too late. I'll tell you that. I think. Tip number two to how to be a hot girl, or tips for a hot girl summer, is to forgive yourself. This one's really hard for me, but I think it's really crucial. We all make mistakes. That's part of the learning process. That's part of the lessons that I just talked about. Holding on to those mistakes and holding on to the past literally adds stress that you can't do anything about. I wish I could get this through my head. But you were literally worrying about something that you cannot change. No matter how much you worry. You can sit there and worry for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year about an action or a decision that you made 2 months ago. I can tell you that decision is not going to change. That decision, you made that decision for a reason to help you learn something and help you not do it again, help you step into that new person. I think a powerful quote, and I'm generalizing, I don't know if every word's going to be correct, but I think a powerful quote that I heard is for worrying is, if it's not going to impact you in 5 years, don't spend 5 minutes on it. With that being said, I think it's important to, of course, take the time to forgive yourself. I'm not saying, you know, you are upset about something that you did and a day later you're going to be fine. It takes time, and allow yourself that grace during that time of forgiving yourself. Allow it to be a process and allow you it still feel the emotion. I do want to make it clear, I'm not saying instantly shut off your emotion and the next day be like, I can't think about this anymore. I got to move forward. You're just going to crash out and burn if you keep doing that. I think it's important to feel the emotion and feel the sadness. And I think that goes back to the silence I was talking about, of sit in the silence and really feel it and really think about why you made that decision, or just allow yourself to feel the emotion. Allow yourself to cry. As they say, sometimes sitting there and crying is prayer. God will understand and God knows what's on your heart and can hear you through that. Sometimes it's just important to feel that emotion and just to sit there and get it all out and release it, or it's going to harbor in you and you're going to act out in some other way. We don't want to do that. We don't want to hold in our emotion and take it out on other people, because that's what's going to happen if you do that. So allow yourself to feel the emotion. Don't rush it. I think one of the most powerful things I heard is, you made that choice with what you knew at the time. You made that decision based on the knowledge you knew at the time. And you can't punish yourself because maybe you made a decision that maybe you come to regret. I think, like I said, I'm a believer in, of course, there's exaggerations or exemptions, but I don't think any decision is a wrong decision. I think every decision we make leads us to that next chapter or leads us to that place that we're supposed to be. It redirects us in some way. I also do want to say, every person on this earth, whether you know them or not, has made a choice they either regret or what you would consider a bad decision. You are not standing in the bad decision club by yourself. You are not the president of the bad decision club. I know I talked about that on my TikTok. Every person you know has made a bad decision, has made a decision they look back in a few months and be like, I wish I didn't do that, or I wish I went the other way. It's normal. It's life. It happens. Sometimes we get caught up in the stress. Sometimes we're not really thinking clearly during the time that we make that decision, and it causes us to make that bad decision. But then guess what? You look back and you're like, oh, I really wasn't thinking clearly during this decision. Well, next time I have to make a big decision, allow me to slow down. Allow me to really think about it and not be impulsive like I was last time. So I think everything is a learning experience, and you're not alone. I think it's also important, like I said, you are not the president or the only member of the bad decision club. it's important to talk to people. And I mean, I don't think you should rely on other, I think at the end of the day, you should make your own decisions and do what feels right for you, but you can get advice. There are people that have lived, there are people around you that have lived a different life than you, but also may have been through similar situations. Talk to people. I mean, be careful who don't, be careful who you talk to, but like talk to a close friend, a close relative of, hey, I'm really struggling with this. I really don't know how to feel about this. Can you allow me to vent for a minute just so I can process it out loud? Or B, can I cry with you? That's really vulnerable if you can do that. Or C, I just want your advice on this. Like, I'm really struggling with which way to go, and like, I would like another perspective. Everyone has been through some stuff in life. It's okay to talk to people that you trust. I think sometimes we hold it all in, and that's um not good for you. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your stress. And because I think sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden to that person. You're not a burden to the people that love and respect you. They would rather you come to them, okay? They would rather you come to them. Or if you aren't feeling comfortable or don't really know who to talk to, talk to God. Talk to God. Just sit in silence and talk to God. And ask for guidance, ask for wisdom, ask for how you think you should move forward. It's whatever works for you better in that moment or with that, whatever you're going through, whether it's keeping it private or whether it's, I feel like I can talk to this person about it because they've been through that. Whatever works for you, okay? As long as you're not just holding it in and not processing it. Forgiveness is really, really powerful, and especially the forgiveness of yourself. It's always interesting how we forgive others so easily, but we don't show or extend the same grace to ourselves. Somebody could hurt you bad, and you can forgive them, and you can move forward and continue to be in whatever relationship you are with them. But then when it comes to yourself, you can't do the same thing. I think that's one of the hardest things I've been through as I really have a hard time forgiving myself. But I'm trying to show myself the same grace I would show the people that I care about. Because at the end of the day, you should pour that love into yourself too, and you should show that same care and grace to yourself that you do to the people in your life. I really, when I was in LA, I had a powerful conversation with one of my friends at dinner, and I think one of the things I told her and in conversation, and I think it's important to ask, why are you not forgiving yourself? What is causing you not to forgive yourself? What is causing you to have that anxiety? I mentioned in last week's episode that I try to deal with anxiety a little different now. I try to diagnose where it's coming from of because at the end of the day, our nervous system just wants to be safe. So to me, I look at it in two ways of number one, it actually is correct and it's a healthy fear of keeping me safe and oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Number two, it's kind of a thank you, I would call it. It's a thank you for trying to keep me safe, or thank you for pointing this out, but I know that I'm okay to move forward, and I know that I'm okay if I do this. Maybe because it's just being uncomfortable and it's not, or stepping into the uncomfortable, and it's not, you can tell yourself, oh, this is not something that's going to hurt me. Like, I'm okay if I do this. And I think kind of to diagnose that and really ask yourself, where's that anxiety coming from is really helpful. Also, ask yourself, why aren't you forgiving yourself for whatever you're holding on to? Is it because you wish you could go back and change it, which could teach you a lesson? Is it you're just really bad at forgiving yourself? Is it another reason? I don't know, but just ask yourself, why am I not forgiving myself for this? Why am I not showing the same grace and compassion that I show to the people in my life? I do understand it's really hard when you are your harshest inner critic. And I think a lot of us are our harshest inner critic. You hear that voice in your head of, you're not good enough, or why did I do this? Or if I didn't do this, this would have happened. I think l lessons are intentional, and I think that's one of the hardest things to learn for me. I think every lesson is placed in your life for a reason to get you to that next stage, but as you're going through it, it's really difficult to process and really difficult to realize. The second thing with your harshest inner critic is have a voice of love in your head as well. I think that's important of also showing yourself grace and showing yourself compassion of I just don't have that one voice in my head. Like I do have a voice of love and I do have a voice of goodness and a voice of positive spirit that I can also use that can tell that inner critic to shut up. Like I don't need you. You can name her if you want. That's up to you. I have heard people naming their inner critic and that has helped to kind of silence it. You can learn to separate it of, okay, this is my inner critic versus my good voice, or like, thank you for raising these concerns, inner critic, but I don't need you anymore. Like, we're gonna put you down in a container in a box. Whatever helps, whatever method works for you, I encourage you to use. The third tip I have for how to be a hot girl is to be confident. And I think when it comes down to being a quote unquote hot girl, that's what it is you are confident in yourself and you know who you are. Confidence is an act, it's not a personality trait. I think a lot of us think we're born with it or we're not born with it. That's not true. You can learn to be confident. This is a random reference, but a scene that always stuck with me is in Billy Eichner's Bros movie. I know, random, but one of the scenes that really stuck with me was when I think they're on the beach and or they're what's that? Oh my God, what's that town called? It's escaping my brain. Provincetown, is that what it's called? I think they're there. Is I don't want to spoil the movie, so if you haven't seen the movie, I really apologize, but it's also been out for a few years. But it's when they take the trip, I think, and they're sitting there having a drink, and he goes on about how he wanted to be a singer and how he wanted to do all these things, and people would tell him his voice was too this, or there were people in his life that just beat him down. And he said, eventually you learn, eventually you have, I think he said something like, eventually, and I may misquote this, but you have nowhere else to go but to be confident in yourself. You get beat down enough where you have no choice but to rely on yourself, and you have no choice but to be like, F this. This is not true. Like, why are you eventually learn why are all these people no, like telling me this? And he also says like confidence is an act. It's something when you're backed into a corner that you learn. You get enough rejection from other people, you just learn to love yourself. And you learn at one point to be like, I don't need all that validation. I don't need to listen to that person if they tell me I can't do that. No, like I want to do that. Like I'm going to do it because it makes me happy. I think that, and I encourage you to watch the movie because of that scene. That scene really changed my perspective on confidence in some ways. I know it's the most random reference I can think of, but I am a rom-com person and I love gay rom-coms, so that's why I've seen it. In that scene, he also says, and this is my next point, the most confident people have been through enough where they know they're going to be okay. You go through enough rejection or enough redirection that it just doesn't, it may break you, but in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, I know I'm going to get out of this. Like, I'm going to go through this period and I'm going to heal and I'm going to get out of it and I'm going to be okay. I have a challenge for you because I feel like I've been talking deeper than like just be a hot girl, but I have a challenge for you. I want you just to put on an act of confidence for today and see what changes. If it's later in the day and you're seeing this, wake up the next morning and be like, you know what? I'm choosing to be confident today. I'm not going to let anything or anybody get me down. Eventually, if you act like the person you become, your brain will catch up and you'll look forward in 2 months and be like, wow, I was just delusionally being confident. And now I'm actually confident. Like now I've made so much progress. If you delusionally, I know delusional can be a negative thing too, but if you just delusionally be confident for a few days, eventually you'll just start acting that way and be like, oh, like now I'm actually confident. Or you'll realize this is not as hard as I thought it would be. I think a lot of people, as someone who has been through this, I think fear prevents confidence. And I think a lot of people just have a lot of fear around a lot of things. I think a lot of people just have a lot of fear built up, and I get it. The world is stressful, especially what's going on right now. So I'm not blaming anybody. And that builds up kind of a freeze character of I just like I'm gonna go through the day-to-day motions and I'm scared of this, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of this. And trust me, there are reasons in this world to be scared right now. I get that. Also, I think it's important to hype yourself up. I think at the end of the day, it's really important to be a hot girl. It's really important to be able to hype yourself up, to be able to love yourself and discover who you are is really, really important, which I'll get to in a second. But with hyping yourself up, if you are feeling down, and I made a video about this, if you are feeling down, I want you to put on a cute outfit, whatever you want to wear, and I want you to take yourself on a solo date. It's can be scary if you've never gone out alone, but start with a coffee shop. I think coffee shops are the best places to start going alone. A lot of people go to coffee shops alone to do work. I can almost guarantee you, unless the coffee shop is empty, you're not going to be the only person there alone doing work or sitting there having a coffee. Take yourself to a coffee shop and just observe and just look for signs of love from the universe. And I promise you, if you look for signs of love, you will find them. Just sit. You can, whether you want to do work, whether you want to reflect on, do your check-in, just take some solo time to yourself and sit at a coffee shop and be by yourself in that cute outfit for a little bit. If you get yourself together, if you, I'm telling you, putting on a cute outfit does wonders. Dressing up and looking cute does wonders for your confidence. I think the solo date is really important. I've learned like I love going out and sitting alone and doing things alone. I think to be a hot girl, that's really important to learn to love to do things alone and not be scared to do things alone. And just if you haven't done things alone, step in that uncomfortable of doing things alone. Because once you get to the comfortable part of it, it is really, really fun. And then you work your way up. Like I said, start from a coffee shop, get confident in going to a coffee shop alone, and then, work your way up. Maybe I'll take myself out to lunch, or maybe I'll do something that's a little more scarier. People may not do things alone and take your time with it. Don't rush yourself, but just spend time alone and go and do things alone. I think another important thing is just go get some fresh air. If you're feeling stressed at work or stressed and overwhelmed in some capacity, when you have a moment, just go for a hot girl walk. Go take a 10-minute walk outside and just allow yourself to be in the moment, be present, whether that is, listening to music while outside or listening to a podcast or just listening to nothing and being silent and being present to what is around you. Allow yourself to practice some mindfulness and allow yourself to just observe for a moment and get away from the stress and get away from the thinking. I think one of the things I want to try and I discovered recently when I took my trip to LA was I love to read a book in a park. I've really never done that before. I've obviously I lived alone, so I would do a lot of things alone when I was in LA the first time. When I was in LA the first time, but one thing I realized I never did was I never just took myself out to like sit in a park and read a book or just sit in the park and be in the moment and observe. I did that when I took my trip and I just sat and I read a book and then I observed for a little bit. I had so much fun. I think I think I want to do that more often. Also, read a book that you really like. I think I'm gonna start doing that more. Especially when I move to my next city. I think I'm gonna find parks and just sit and just be by myself for a little bit. Also, I will say when you do go out by yourself and whether it's to a coffee shop and or whether it's to lunch, whatever, to a bar, I know there's some safety issues as well. But also when you're by yourself, you tend to meet more people. Some people come up and talk to you and allow that conversation and enjoy that conversation if you want. If you want to obviously, be in a coffee shop and put AirPods in and take a moment to yourself to reflect, that's okay too. But I think both can happen. I think like it's a balance of you can be by yourself and, you know, just have that moment to yourself, but there'll also be times when you go out alone where you meet new people and maybe that's your new friend, maybe that's your new relationship. Tip number 4 for me is define your purpose and define your vision. It is really important to be a hot girl to discover who you are. I think we're always, discovering who you are, rediscovering in certain points of life, but it's really important to discover yourself. And I think ways to do that is first find career goals that challenge you, have them scare you. That will keep you going and keep your mind active. I think that's really important to step into confidence is to keep your mind active. I think a lot of us, including myself, get stuck. And if I don't have a career that's challenging me or something new and exciting and fresh that I love doing, it makes life feel stagnant because the career isn't everything, but it is a big part of what we do. And so I think finding new career goals that challenge you to me is really important. I remember Taraji B. Henson once said, I may have mentioned this on the podcast before she took the role of Cookie for Empire, she took it because it scared the hell out of her, and it obviously that show ended up being a big hit, and her character is so iconic to this day. Talking about a hot girl, just be Cookie. No, her character is so iconic to this day, and so I think that's important of do stuff that scares you in your career, and that will move you forward. I always say, I think if it scares you, it's probably what you should do, or it's probably where God wants you to go next. Also, if you're thinking down the road, when you complete those career goals, you will feel so accomplished because at first it was scary and it was unknown, and you'll be proud of yourself for accomplishing whatever that task was. I think it's also important to discover what you like versus what you don't. I think some of us can get so caught up in external validation and what others think of us that we never actually take the time to discover what we like and what we like to do versus what we don't. I think sometimes maybe that's a pressure to fit into society of I don't really like doing this anymore. I feel like I've outgrown this, but I want to fit in, so I'm just gonna allow societal pressure to get to me and do this. And I think it's important to really sit down and be like, okay, what makes me happy? I like whatever it is, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's going to coffee shops, whether it's going to a bar, whether it's going to concerts, whatever it is, I'm not going to judge you. Do what you like. It's your life. So just do what you like and spend time in things that you really are happy doing. don't have a fear of judgment around other people judging you for that. Fear of judgment around other people will stop you from doing so many things that you could do. I think your purpose also gets you closer to God. Like I said, I'm not a person to push my religion on anybody, but if you do believe, I think discovering that purpose allows you to walk his path because it's his purpose for you. It allows you to connect with him, and just walking his path allows you to connect with him, allows you to do so much more than you thought you could do things unexpectedly because unexpected blessings come in. I think that's one of my favorite things about life. I talk to God all the time. I'll be in the grocery store talking to God. I'll be in the coffee line talking to God. I'll be in my room talking to God. I think this chapter has really taught me to really place him first. Like I said, I always have, but I don't think I was as in depth to it, or I still wanted to take the driver's seat, so to speak, but I think I'm enjoying the partnership that we have. I did see something once that like, and if you're religious and really into God, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But I did see something once like treat your relationship like a partnership with him, and that really changed my life. Of course I'm gonna allow like I want to walk his path, but I think the partnership thing really, it was something that really helped me. My fifth tip, and I've touched on this briefly in tip number three about being confident, love spending time alone. Get to the point where you are okay with yourself spending time alone. Michelle Obama said recently that most of our life is ordinary, so you have to learn to be happy in those ordinary moments. I think the most powerful people on this earth can spend time alone and not need to be around others. Of course, there's a balance. You need to go out and see your friends or your boyfriend or your husband. Yes, you can hang out with people. I'm not saying you can't hang out with people. That's not what I mean. I just mean when you are in those alone times, you're okay with yourself and or even when you're, in those silent moments with someone. Can I just say, I'm getting sidetracked. I love having silent time. Not all the time, of course, I want to talk to my friends, but I love when you're just with your friends and you're all tired and you just want to decompress and you can just sit in silence. That's when you know like your friendships are real. I think it's just important to when you are in those moments, and I'm a person I need to spend time alone to recharge, and my social battery runs out, so sometimes I just need that time alone, and I that's what I'm saying. Find the balance of yes, go out and hang out with people and see the people you love. I'm not saying don't do that, but also find some time to spend alone and to do those activities that I was talking about under tip number three of going to a coffee shop alone or going to do whatever you like. Don't be afraid to do it alone. And it really will bring a healing spirit to you. It will make you learn to validate yourself and not validate through others. I think that's really important. Of a lot of us can have that fear of judgment of if I go do this alone, someone's gonna think I'm weird or think I got stood up for a date or look at me differently. People in this world, people are thinking about you less than you think. When I go out and see someone alone, I like if they're sitting at, you know, wherever alone doing whatever activity, I'm like, yes, girl, like you love spending time alone. I'm I'm all for it. So if you see me out in public and you're alone, girl, just know that I'm proud of you. Know that I'm cheering you on from the sidelines. Spending that time alone really, that's the time where you get to know yourself. And that's the time where you discover the things that you like because there's no distractions around you're obviously when you're with people, you want to be present with them, and be caring for them. But spending that time alone really will allow you to discover who you are and what you like. So please, and that will lead to you validating yourself and not worrying about others. So please take comfort in spending time alone. Take yourself out. Take yourself out. Treat yourself. Once you get comfortable with going out alone, it's not bad. I promise you. It may start out awkward because you're entering into a territory of the unknown or you're entering into the uncomfortable because you've never done it before. But everything in life starts out awkward, or every new step that you take, you're stepping into the unknown and you get familiar with it. Think of a time, and it doesn't have to be spending time alone, but think of a time that you started something that challenged you and you were uncomfortable and you were stepping into the unknown. Did you get through that? I think you did. Place whatever, realize that, okay, I got through that. I can get through this too. I can learn to discover myself and learn to be okay spending time in my presence because you are awesome. You are placed on this earth for a reason and you deserve to find yourself. You deserve to discover yourself. And that I'm using that word intentionally again. You deserve to discover yourself and you deserve to discover who you are just by being here, just by existing. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. You deserve to do the things you like, okay? Tip number 6 for me is, and I've kind of alluded to this, is be uncomfortable. Grow in the uncomfortable. The more life is going to change no matter you like it or not. And this, I grew up hating change. I hated change. When things changed, it made me uncomfortable. But then I learned life is going to change all the time, no matter what, if you're prepared for it or not. So grow in the uncomfortable, be okay with the change. Once you get comfortable with it, it's really not that bad. And just keep talking to yourself, keep being proud of yourself. That's what I say. Keep saying, oh, I've been through this before. I've been through change before, or I've been through a challenging situation before and I've made it through. Step outside of your comfort zone, I think is really important. To me, I've learned comfort zone really kills your dreams and your max potential. I know that sounds like one of those motivational videos, and I don't mean it to sound that way, but just thinking of it logically, if you stay in that comfort zone, like say you're like, for example, I want to move, but I'm comfortable with whatever city I'm in. I know my routine, I know the people, I have friends here or family here. So, I'm just gonna stay here. If you step, you never know what's on the other side. That other city is calling you for a reason. Step into that. You stepping into that move could unlock so many things that you didn't even know about yourself, and also could unlock so many opportunities that you would have never had if you stayed in the city you were in. So always step outside your comfort zone if you can. It is really rewarding after. So say, like for example, when I moved to Los Angeles for the first time and I didn't know, but I knew I wanted to go there and I wanted to try it out because that you can go there and if the worst comes to worst, you're not going to like it and you're going to move back in a year or in a matter of whatever timeline. When I moved to Los Angeles and it worked out for me at that time, it was one of the most rewarding feelings I've ever felt. So I think just be okay with stepping into the unknown and be okay with leaning into the change and embracing what comes next because if you trust God, you're always on the right path and allow God just to lead you down that path, whatever it is and whatever your purpose is. Have no fear. Just have no fear, okay? You are in that room for a reason, or you are getting that opportunity for a reason because you deserve it. You deserve it. And my last tip number 7, is find a creative outlet. And I'm speaking to my creative people here, I guess, but I found your creative outlet is really, really important. It allows you to express yourself. It allows you to escape in moments of maybe sadness or worry. Also, when you're feeling down, you can turn to whatever that creative outlet may be, whether it's drawing, painting, singing, hosting, whatever it is, etc. When you're feeling down, it's always something you can go back to and use to express yourself and use to heal and use to be excited about something for a moment. Find out what that is for you. Find out what you like doing creatively. I think we're really all creative souls. So I think I know it's in the beginning if you are a creative person. I think this really applies to everybody because I think we all have a bit of creativeness somewhere in there. And finding that really, to me, unlocks who you are and unlocks your purpose. And, if you keep working towards it, it's going to become your career eventually. And you're going to be so glad that you started it, even when you didn't know if it was going to work out or not. Turn it into a lifestyle. Turn it, I think the universe loves this of when you don't know what's coming next and you trust it regardless. And also when you start acting like who you become or act like who you want to become, I think the universe sees that and rewards that and leads you down the right path. So start doing it. Whatever you love doing creatively, start doing it. Palettes are for your expression, for you. They are not for others' judgments. They are not even for your friends. And your friends can support you, and your good friends will support your creative expression, but they're not for other people and their judgment. And if they judge, that's on them. That is on them. That is not on you. As long as you enjoy what you are doing, I think it's really important because sometimes it allows us a break from reality, and also sometimes it just allows us to be the voice that we want to be. So I do want to wrap this up, but I hope you got something from today's video, something resonated with you, and just know that I think deserve is a big word for this podcast of how to be a hot girl or tips for a hot girl summer. Know that you deserve to love yourself. You deserve to find out who you are. You deserve to discover who you are. If you are going through it, hang in there because things will get better. Okay. And as always, this podcast is a safe space for my LGBT plus community and its allies. Even if you just want to sit for a moment, be part of the conversation, whatever it means to you, it's for you. I love you. See you next time.